at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights. If we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Thursday, January 9th. I'm Dean Obeidallah, as always, here to be your MBFF for the next 3 hours. I'm on Twitter all the time, at Dean Obeidallah. Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. If you're on Facebook, and if you want to fight with Trumpers, go to Facebook.com/Dean of Radio, because now every night they descend on my monologue and battle with the good people on our side. So if you want to have some fun, go have it. Be respectful, be civil, be better than them. Let me put it that way. We are better, be better. We have some great guests that cover so much of what's going on, including Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill from New Jersey, one of the sponsors of the War Powers Resolution that's being voted on right now, which has bipartisan support. Republicans have come over and supported this as well. First thing, we are 299 days away from the most important election of our lives. A daily reminder. I might do it daily because we're really in the heat of it right now. 299. It's Judgment Day for our nation. It's Judgment Day for our values. It's Judgment Day for the future, for this generation and beyond. And anytime you need a reminder to keep you animated and engaged, just look at Donald Trump. Because today, he did something and said something that was so vile and so despicable, which is getting so little media coverage, I'm not sure why, that if you ever need a moment to think about why you got to go vote against this guy, here is one of them, one that should anger you and make you bring your friends. And I especially say this to progressive veterans who call this show, because it's an insult to you. Donald Trump today said Democrats, not just Nancy Pelosi, we Democrats support terrorism. Think about that. Think about how dangerous that is for the President of the United States, with a following as passionate as he has, telling his, and we'll play the clip. And this is all a GOP talking point for days now, but Donald Trump elevated it today in his little press conference, answering some questions, and brought that up, saying, we support the Iranian general who's a terrorist. We, Democrats. Literally, that's the President of the United States saying that, folks. That's how ISIS dehumanizes the West. He's doing the opposite of that. So we'll go through all of it, and it's remarkable to have a draft dodger like Trump accuse people, especially progressive military veterans, of supporting terrorism when you put your life on the line for this country. And this guy used privilege and influence together serving this country when he had a chance during the Vietnam War. Yet you are the one supporting terrorism. That's Donald Trump, folks. And how we got to this point, why the Republicans smearing Democrats, all Democrats, not just House Democrats, as supporters of terrorism. Because today there's a vote right now, and it was just passed, limiting Trump's war powers. It's a resolution in the House. It would need to get passed in the Senate and signed into law by Donald Trump. He's not going to sign it. We know it. Democrats are simply making a statement, and Republicans who have joined with them, that we believe in the Constitution. Because the Constitution says in Article 1, plainly and clearly for anyone who wants to read it, Article 1 and Article 2 work hand in hand. It is a shared power for war. The framers wanted that way. They came out of a king. They fought a revolution against the king. They were not going to draft the Constitution to allow a new king who can go to war on whim or for treasure or because he wants to find a new wife or any reason a king would. That's why we have a Constitution. Yes, the president is the commander-in-chief, but this is often forgotten. The only branch of government that can declare war in the Constitution is the Congress. So Trump could be the commander, but he can't go to war without the declaration. Secondly, Congress has the power to raise and support armies. That, again, that's right from the Constitution. It was split. It's supposed to be worked out between them, not a kind of whimsical king-like power. And in the result, 1973, the War Powers Act was passed over the veto of Richard Nixon. And the whole idea there was to set forth certain timetables of notice that you have to give to Congress and mandating it now. So it's not this kind of ambiguous relationship between the two branches. And One is to give immediate information about any use of our military. And on the outer end, that a president cannot commit our troops into foreign theaters for more than 60 days without getting the approval of Congress. But the idea was supposed to rein in a president. And I wish they had done it even more. And in April, Democrats and Republicans passed a resolution together in the Senate and the House, not just one chamber, both, on the U.S. involvement in the war in Yemen going on. There's a civil war there, and we've been supporting Saudi Arabia. And Democrats and Republicans, a majority in both chambers, passed a resolution to call for the end of our involvement and stopping funding. Well, Trump vetoed it. So what was happening today is part of the normal process. Congress, as an institution, tries to enforce their part of the Constitution, while an imperial president like Trump, who wants to have powers beyond the scope of the Constitution, is fighting with them. It's natural tension. That's what happens. And just to make it clear, it's not just Democrats opposing Trump's actions with Iran. It is bipartisan. And you have 3 Republicans, including Matt Gaetz, just voted for this resolution. But more importantly, leading up to this vote, last night we had Senator Mike Lee and Senator Rand Paul slamming the briefing that they got, saying there was no evidence of imminent threat coming. And Senator Menendez was on TV today, a Democrat from New Jersey, saying he has 3 questions. And one of the most poignant ones was, did killing the general, did that stop any imminent attack? And they had no answer for that, because that is the ultimate justification. Is Soleimani a bad guy? Yeah, but do you kill a bad guy, making things worse for everyone else who's still alive? All the Americans in the theater of war there and here and our allies? They have no... And in fact, here's Mike Lee. Let's play clip number 8, Matt. Mike Lee last night.
I find this insulting and demeaning, not personally, but to the office that each of the 100 senators in this building happens to hold. I find it insulting and I find it demeaning to the Constitution of the United States, to which we've all sworn an oath. It is, after all, the prerogative of the legislative branch to declare war. Article 1, Section 8 makes that very clear. Alexander Hamilton in Federalist Number 69 made clear that this was a sharp contrast from the form of government that we had prior to the Revolution, a form of government in which the executive, the king, had the power to take us to war. He did not need the parliament to weigh in on it, to support it. That was the parliament's job after the fact, after we had gone into war. This, Hamilton explained in Federalist 69, is exactly the reason why this power was put in Article 1, Section 8, in the branch of government most accountable to the people at the most regular intervals.
There you go. The senior Republican senator from Utah, giving a very good civics lessons for everybody right there. That, what he was saying, absolutely right. And I love the fact that he brought up the king, that our Constitution was drafted after winning a revolution against a monarch. And so the Constitution always has to be viewed in that light when there's questions of separation of powers and checks and balances. And in any situation where it could go either way, I believe the framers would say the power should go to Congress and not having this kind of king there. So you had Mike Lee there talk about the king. And this is not left-right. This really isn't, because we have people on the right on this side here as well. This is about, do you believe in the United States Constitution, or do you want King Trump? And if you want King Trump, then amend the Constitution. At least have the courage to say you want Trump to be a king. Do that, Trumpers. Don't play games. Don't pretend you're our fellow Americans who believe in American values and the Constitution. Just say, I want a king. I don't believe in American system. I want a king. That's what I want. I'm going to work to amend the Constitution. Good luck with that. We'll fight it out on the battlefield of ideas, and I think we will win and you will lose horribly. And then Mike Lee made another point, that he was told by the briefers, do not criticize Donald Trump and his policies here. And somehow you're being less than American. You're helping the enemy by daring to speak out. And here's Mike Lee, clip number 1.
They had to leave after 75 minutes while they're in the process of telling us that we need to be good little boys and girls and run along and not debate this in public. I find that absolutely insane. I think it's unacceptable. And so I don't know what they had in mind. I went in there hoping to get more specifics as far as the factual, legal, moral justification for what they did. I'm still undecided on that issue, in part because we never got to the details. Every time we got close, they'd say, well, we can't discuss that here because it's really sensitive. We're in a skiff. We're in a secure underground bunker where all electronic devices have to be checked at the door, and they still refuse to tell us.
Again, that's a Republican senator, and Rand Paul echoed that. They would not tell Republican senators what went on. This is after the fact, folks. This is not, you can't even make that BS argument, oh, we're not going to tell Democrats in advance, even though the law demands that. This is after the fact. Why can't you give them details? Because Trump, and this shows the consequence of him being a serial liar. And it also makes us more suspicious of anything this administration tells us. So there was questions already. Was there an imminent threat? No. It's clearly there is not imminent threat. And a new poll today, USA Today, asked the question that I've been asking on this show over and over. Do you feel safer from Donald Trump's killing of the Iranian general? Well, USA Today asked that question. The poll came out today. What percentage of Americans do you think feel safer today? 24%. That's it. 55% say they feel less safe. And a huge percentage think this is going to make Iran rush to try to develop a nuclear weapon, which would just destabilize the region even worse. So today, it is in the shadow of this that Donald Trump calls us lovers of terrorism, because the vote in the House just happened. And last night, Nancy Pelosi talked about this. A few days ago, she talked about a resolution, perhaps, war powers resolution, and the exact resolution. I'm looking at the language. It's a simple resolution. It simply says, directing the president, pursuant to the war powers resolution, to terminate the use of United States armed forces to engage in hostilities in or against Iran. It talks certain things in there. Very interestingly, it notes that over the past 8 months, the United States has introduced 15,000 additional forces into the Middle East. 15,000 we've put there. It's a little fanfare. It happens a little sporadically. So Trump talks about no perpetual wars. There's 15,000 more troops there now. And it goes through the war powers resolution, talking about Congress should be consulted with, quote, in every possible instance, close quotes, before introducing United States armed forces into hostilities. Trump did not do that. So it demands a termination pursuant to Section 5 of the War Powers Act, saying Trump cannot do anything more with Iran unless Congress has declared war or there is an imminent attack against the U.S. or our interests. That's the only other time they can do it. It's a resolution. You can debate this all day. There's nothing wrong with debating this on the merits. And if Republicans want to debate it, that's fine. But they didn't. What they did in a concerted effort was say that we, because we're speaking out, and there's even Republicans on our side, but they only said Democrats, we support terrorists. We mourn terrorists. We support those who killed our fellow service people, our fellow Americans serving our nation. It began with Nikki Haley a few days ago, which I thought she was on her own freelancing. No, it wasn't. Apparently, these were the GOP talking points. We didn't know it at the time. So here's Nikki Haley a few days ago. I played this on the show. I thought it was despicable. I thought it was a one-off. I didn't know what was going on. Here's clip number 2. Nikki Haley.
You don't see anyone standing up for Iran. You're not hearing any of the Gulf members. You're not hearing China. You're not hearing Russia. The only ones that are mourning the loss of Soleimani are our Democrat leadership and our Democrat presidential candidates. No one else in the world, because they knew that this man had evil veins. They knew what he was capable of, and they saw the destruction and the lives lost based from his hands.
So Nikki Haley was a little bit more focused, saying the Democratic president and the Democratic Congress are mourning the loss of a terrorist, which is not true. That was a lie. But then it got worse. Last night, Congressman Doug Collins, you might recall him, he's the ranking Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, very close with Donald Trump, is Trump's BFF, took it a step farther into truly vile, irresponsible, dangerous areas, saying, and it was already dangerous and irresponsible when Nikki Haley said it. Doug Collins, listen very closely. All of us are in love with terrorists. All Democrats love terrorists. Think about how irresponsible that is to Republicans out there hearing that garbage. Here's clip number 3, Doug Collins.
About constraining his authorities as the commander-in-chief vis-a-vis Iraq. How venal, how vapid can one party become?
Lou, it just is amazing. I mean, if it wasn't so sad and serious with our country to have Nancy Pelosi, I did not think she could become more hypocritical than she was during impeachment. But guess what? Surprise, surprise. Nancy Pelosi does it again, and her Democrats fall right in line. One, they're in love with terrorists. We see that. They mourn Soleimani more than they mourn our Gold Star families, who are the ones who suffered under Soleimani.
So there he is with Lou Dobbs. What do you think, folks? Do you mourn Soleimani? This is for all Democrats. He attacked all of us. Do you mourn Soleimani, a terrorist, more than Gold Star families? You got Doug Collins there defending a president who maligned and demeaned the Gold Star family, the Khan family, where Captain Hamagun Khan, who is a hero, is buried in Arlington National Cemetery because he had the courage to serve. He volunteered. Donald Trump, the draft dodger, used wealth and influence and privilege to avoid serving for our nation. But there's Doug Collins saying Democrats, quote, are in love with terrorists, and we mourn terrorists more than Gold Star families. That was vile. That was despicable. So you got the sense it was the GOP talking point. And then Donald Trump today himself said this. And I'm going to play Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC leading into it because she could not believe what she had just heard. So that's why I keep her in there. Here's clip number 4.
President Trump with a stunning new line of attack from the White House moments ago, falsely claiming that because Congress is raising the issue of Congress's power to be consulted on military action, that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are defending the Iranian general responsible for killing hundreds of Americans.
You know what bothers me? When I see a Nancy Pelosi trying to defend this monster from Iran. When Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats want to defend him, I think that's a very bad thing for this country. I think that's a big losing argument politically, too.
So the veterans who've served our country, progressives who call here, are you a Democrat who's supporting a terrorist? Are you supporting someone like Trump just said about us? This is so far worse than deplorables. Remember Hillary and the deplorables? This is so far worse. He's saying we are involved with terrorism, that we cheer the killing of American soldiers. This should be getting so much more media coverage. And by the way, Andrea Mitchell then played what Nancy Pelosi really said, even though we don't need to defend Nancy Pelosi. But here's clip number 6, her real comments on it.
Not that we have any confidence in the goodness or the good intentions of Iran. And we certainly do not respect, and I, from my intelligence background, know just how bad Soleimani was. It's not because we expect good things from them, but we expect great things from us.
They could debate the idea of a missile strike and being good to save Americans. That is fine. That's politics. But you're going to have the President of the United States and his minions in the GOP as a talking point. Their defense of criticism of Donald Trump's policy is to say that we, the exact quote, Doug Collins, we are in love with terrorists. We Democrats are in love with terrorists. We mourn terrorists more than Gold Star families. Think about that for a second. Think about, we live in a world where people have committed acts of violence for Donald Trump. The MAGA bomber sent bombs to the very people Donald Trump demonized. We've had hate crimes by people in El Paso, Texas, using Donald Trump's words of invasion of immigrants. Same thing in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. That man used the term invasion of immigrants and held Jewish people responsible. Think about the world we live in, the intersection of Donald Trump's rabid fans and people who have questionable issues in their own life about perhaps struggles, mental illness, whatever it is. And they hear Donald Trump saying Democrats support terrorism. Democrats love terrorists. And we cheer terrorists. Think that through for a second. Honestly, think about that for a second. If you heard that over and over, that drumbeat that we've had here, a coordinated, concerted effort by the GOP to say Democrats support terrorism. If you really believe that and you're a Trump supporter, my question is, why would you not want to kill me? Why would you not want to attack all Democrats? Why would you not want to take a gun and shoot us because we are helping the enemy? Why would you not want to? This is exactly what ISIS recruiters do. Now, they go a step further. They give people weapons, or they inspire them and try to give them details how to get weapons and after targets. But what they do is a drumbeat of dehumanization of the other side. Being us, the West. The West hates us. The West loves it when Muslims are killed. They don't mourn when you get killed. They're happy when you get killed. Donald Trump's saying the opposite. He's saying the mirror of what an ISIS recruiter would say. So, no, we're not the ones mourning terrorists. We find terrorists despicable. And as a Muslim, I can assure you on the right, they've said about me for years. But it's not against me. To me, I'm more outraged for the veterans who've called this show, or progressives who put on a uniform, put their life on the line, and Donald Trump, the draft dodger, did not. And now we are the ones mourning terrorists. We love terrorists. This is despicable. This is so far beyond deplorable, to Hillary's comment. And she made it clear that was about a subset of Trump supporters. Trump is saying all Democrats. And this, to me, should be getting more press. This is dangerous. It's dehumanizing. It's also despicable. And that's who Trump is. So if you need any other reason to stay animated from now to Election Day, think about this stuff. We're going to have this all the time from this vile person in the White House. And I cannot wait until defeating him. And I can't wait till he's indicted as soon as he leaves office from, I hope, here, the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. So what do you think of this? Does this upset you the way it upsets me? Especially if you're a veteran, I'd love to hear from you, where Donald Trump is saying that because you criticize his policies, that you're standing up, because you're standing up for the Constitution, you love terrorists, you mourn terrorists, and not the Gold Star families that Donald Trump has demeaned? This is off the charts. This is insane what is going on in front of us, and it is dangerous. It is dangerous in the climate we live in today. These are not normal times. And I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748. Is this just something, another day in the world of Trump and I shouldn't be upset? Or is this beyond the pale and a new level of vileness? To me, it's the abyss has no bottom with Trump. But this is pretty deep down there. Let's take a break. I'd love to hear from you.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
My slogan for Trump in 2020, Trump for